All over the Telegraph front page is this prediction of doom for the Tories, with a big opinion piece by Lord David Frost underneath it. He makes no bones about it. He had a lot to do with this poll. He commissioned it. He was at the centre of it. And he quite clearly is trying to tell Rishi, you haven't done what I told you to do, what the right of the Tory party told you to do. You're still soft on immigration. You're not helping us on the cost of living crisis. And net zero is driving our red wall voters away. That seems to be the message. Frost saying, do what I say or you're doomed. What's your take on it?
Well, no one could have seen this coming, unless, of course, you had looked at any published poll over the last couple of years.
There is that, yeah.
I mean,
it's not out of the blue, is it?
Let me give you a talkTV exclusive. Yeah. Our latest polling at Deltapoll has the Conservatives on 16 points behind Labour. That would be enough on uniform swing for a Labour majority of around about 150. That's to be released in the next couple of hours, and is statistically insignificant from the poll we previously published a couple of weeks ago, which was broadly in line with the poll before that. The Conservatives,
the picture building up.
The Conservatives have been behind in every published poll by any pollster since December 2021, and they have been behind by double digits since September 2022. And it doesn't matter how you cut the data and the additional allowance that you apply for that, that is bad news for the Conservatives. The good news for the Conservatives, if you want to call it
that, there any?
Is that we, when we run these questions, say if there were a general election tomorrow. But there isn't a general election tomorrow, and no amount of careful polling and statistical analysis can get away from that fact. People all across the country are extraordinarily bad at explaining their own behaviour. In the run-up to 1997, many of us, some of us, will remember that the big talk then was about a Canada-style wipeout, replicating what we saw in the Canadian election in 1993 when the Conservative Party went down to just 2 MPs. And because they show an electoral system with us, people were talking about that because Labour were on 57% in the polls. When it came down to it, the Conservatives held on to 165 seats, 95 of which had not changed hands since the Second World War, and they got over 30% of the vote. So by historical standards, we expect the polls to narrow by the time we get to the election. But there's no doubt that it remains bad news for the Conservatives.
What are the main driving factors of this huge sort of downtick, let's call it, in public opinion? Because there'll be people out there saying, look, it's because they haven't met the targets of stopping the boats and this is an election all about immigration. There'll be others saying, well, you know, we understand that things are tough right now. There's been a pandemic, but would you stop changing leader? And then there are others who just look at the amount of money in their bank accounts and say, I need a change.
For most people, the economy and cost of living is by far the most important issue. There are vanishingly few people out there who are saying, my mortgage rates have increased significantly, my heating and gas bills have doubled, my electricity's gone up, but Rishi Sunak has done something on small boats, so I'm back on the Conservative train. It just doesn't happen like that. The Conservatives' problem is that when it comes to economic management, they have not moved at all since June of last year. The autumn statement, all the other economic announcements, it's made no difference. The difficulty for them is they've really only got the budget left as a lever to pull before the election, whether it's in May or more likely in October, November. And if they can't change that economic performance measure, they are really in trouble.
Could it be that, you know, when people think times are hard right now and I'm probably going to get more handouts from a Labour government?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's about specific management of the economy. The idea of who can be fairest, who can be best, who can be competent, quite frankly. And the Conservatives have, over successive months and years, destroyed their reputation for economic competence. This began under Boris Johnson. It really accelerated under Liz Truss, and it's stabilised under Rishi Sunak. But the problem is, since June last year, it's never gone below 29% or above 33% in terms of who's best to manage the economy. And that's a very narrow window, and it's been flat the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, is that when people find that they're kind of broke, they don't sort of go, who can manage this better? They just go, who's in charge of me being broke? I know, it's this government, and that's why they're in trouble. So politically, I mean, David Frost is clearly manoeuvring like mad here, saying you must do what the right of the party want, Alicia. Joe was talking about Rishi doing something on the boats. clearly, he just has not done enough. Hence, he's under attack from Suella Braverman, Lee Anderson, and all these right-wing Tories just saying your Rwanda bill is too feeble to achieve. They just say it will not work. Then you've got the cost of living crisis that they don't seem to be doing anything about. And at the heart of that, and Frost was very anxious to point this out, you cannot sell the electorate the idea, save the planet, but it's going to cost you a lot of money.